Welcome back, folks. My name is LastKnownMeal, and today we're going to be talking about Cyberpunk, multiplayer, and microtransactions. So let's get into it. So yesterday we had the major news websites running the story Cyberpunk 2077 will have microtransactions, or Cyberpunk 2077 will have fair microtransactions, and all of a sudden everyone on the internet went crazy. They were like, oh my god, they were lying to us. Cyberpunk 2077 will have microtransactions. CDPR is not the company that they were telling us they are. They're basically lying to us. This is false advertising. When in reality, it's not true. It's basically clickbait. Most of the articles you saw yesterday are clickbait generated from the investors call we had 2 days ago. And also, we learned about a year ago, maybe even longer, that Cyberpunk Online or Cyberpunk Multiplayer or whatever the name of that separate project is going to be will have some form of monetization. And when someone talks about monetization, they don't specifically think about microtransactions. And monetization is how you make money from the product you make. So monetization could be selling through Steam, GOG, Epic, whatever. That's how you monetize your content. Selling cups, selling t-shirts, that's also how you monetize your brand, the one that you actually have the rights to. So that's monetization. And about a year ago, we had the article where CDPR was saying, like, look, they're still going through, thoughts and ideas on what that monetization could be for multiplayer, and that they make it fair. And that means that you don't have to pay or buy those microtransactions or whatever in order to be good at the game, or in order for you to basically play the game and to have enough stats, whatever, health damage to deal to enemies. That's not the case, because if that was the case, that would be predatory. And of course, when, these journalists run the story, they had a lot of people riled up against CDPR, a lot of people saying like, oh, this is fake advertising. They're putting microtransactions in Cyberpunk 2077, but the reality is they are not. So I want to get this out there and explain how it's going to be. So Cyberpunk 2077 is a single player game. No microtransactions, no hidden, things that are going to happen in the future, like they're going to just pop up out of nowhere, like battle cases and all of that. That's not going to happen. Cyberpunk 2077 will stay a microtransaction free, single player, DRM free game, which means you don't have the nouveau or something like that in it that will ruin your experience. Nothing at all. Basically, CDPR is against DRM. So what is going on here? Because people seem so much riled up at CDPR because, and I don't blame them, because a lot of these news websites actually went and passed the story as Cyberpunk 2077 will have them, which is not true. Cyberpunk 2077 single player, 0 microtransactions, free DLCs, and paid expansions, same as it was for The Witcher 3. Before Cyberpunk 2077 comes out, you will know what those expansions are going to be. They will talk about that as well. But in 2022, or whatever the year is going to be when Cyberpunk Online comes out, because we know they're prone to delays, that's when that separate project, Cyberpunk Online, is coming out. And the form of monetization they will have there is still being discussed. So even if they do have microtransactions in it, they said it's not going to be aggressive. Because why would they? Their entire business model is based around the trust and respect of the gaming community. So why would they go against that? Think about it. Why would they ruin their entire business into the ground because of that? So for me, for as long as those microtransactions are not necessary, for as long as I can play the game and enjoy the game and still be good at the game and earn those things without paying for them, I will be happy. And the thing is, This is the biggest newsflash out there, especially for gaming journalists. This is not the first time that CDPR included microtransaction in their game. Gwent has microtransactions, and I talked with people who have thousands of hours in Gwent. I have a lot of hours in Gwent, not too much, but whenever I played, I never had to buy a single keg or something like that. I still had enough materials to craft my own cards. I got enough keys to open those paid kegs on my own by just playing. And I never felt like I needed to pay more money to be good at the game or win at the game. And every time I lost in Gwent, it was because I was bad and my opponent was better. It was never because, you know, someone had a special card or something which they got through those kegs. It never happened that way. And to be honest, you never heard any Gwent players actually complain around those microtransactions. Did you now? So when people go out there and put Cyberpunk and CDPR in the spotlight with basic clickbait from those articles, it makes me sad that people don't actually go and research the full story. They don't go and actually see what exactly is going on. Because if they did do the research, they would say that and find out that, you know, Cyberpunk 2077 is still a single player game with 0 microtransactions. And for multiplayer to have some form of monetization, it's actually very common. And you know what pisses me off the most is when people quote their old tweets. They basically quote, "We leave the greed to others." And you know, they say like, "Oh, this is CDPR has changed now. You basically said this, now you're doing something else." How did it change exactly? Can you tell me, how did it change? You still have single player Cyberpunk 2077 with DLCs and expansions, and honestly, when online or multiplayer comes out, you don't have to play it if you don't want to. I've seen a lot of people saying like, "I'm not interested in multiplayer." Fair enough, you don't have to play it, you still have your single player game. No one is going to take that away from you. And the chances are, like 90%, that online is going to be a separate thing. I don't really think they will include multiplayer in single player, but even if they do, you will still have single player game you can, you know, go and play with. But I doubt that's going to happen because of DRM and all of that. Online works in a different way, so if they want to keep you know, Cyberpunk 2077 playable offline, I think they could keep those things separate, and I'm completely okay with it. And it went to the point where Cyberpunk Twitter account had to basically tweet, "Nothing changed, Cyberpunk 2077 is a single player game with 0 microtransactions, 1 single purchase, no tricks, don't believe the clickbait." They actually had to go and tweet this out because of all the articles and journalists writing about it, and it makes me sad. It makes me sad, you know, where you have companies which do a much worse thing than CDPR does. They don't give half the things for free. Like 2 days ago, CDPR said you're getting a next-gen version of The Witcher 3 for free if you already own the game on any platform besides Switch, because, well, Switch has, you know, technical limitations to it. And it just boggles my mind how people can turn against CDPR so easily without reading the full story. So I basically wanted to make this video to explain what is actually going on. I'm sure some people will call me a shill or something like that. I really don't care. You know why I don't care? Is because when a company which did so good to the people, which did so good and so well for every single gamer out there, to be put on a highlight like this in a bad light, and it's all because of media and journalists that found out about the story today. Because why do research? We can just make an article, earn a couple of bucks from it, and ultimately cause some chaos which is going to be running for 2 days, and you will have people which will have this narrow sight, and they're going to just look at one thing, and they will never ever go and look at something else. and actually do research. So that was everything for today. I wanted to keep this as short as I can. Thank you so much for watching. I will be making more lore videos throughout this week, so don't forget to subscribe for that, and tell me down below, what are your thoughts around this? What do you think about this? I'm actually very interested to hear what you have to say, but please do a research before you say something. Like, Jesus, sometimes it's so obvious that people just go out there and speak stuff that they don't know anything about. So yeah, this is LKM signing out. Don't forget to do all of those things as I said, and also subscribe for more Cyberpunk. And yeah, I also created the Patreon page if you wanted to support the channel in an extra way, and huge thanks to my current Patreon supporters. This is LKM signing out, and stay classy everyone. Bye bye.